Hello, Batavia Mayor Jeff Schielke speaking to you on Monday, March 13th, 2023. And I've got several people have asked me about what's happening around City Hall because there is a major construction or reconstruction of the interior of the building going on. And if you come in some doors you're normally used to coming in, you can't get in, you got to look for another door. Right now, the main door of City Hall, which is kind of the second door as you walk down the side of the building heading north, is the best way to get in, and they'll either put you on the elevator and take you to the second floor, or they'll let you pay a bill or get to community development or all the other places. You may have to ask the receptionist at the police department, and she may be able to give you some help. Hopefully this will be over with by the midsummer, and we'll have the building up and running, and people will be pleased by the reconfiguration of it, specifically as far as it comes to paying your utility bill, because now it's all being done on the first floor, as is the community development department. So if you want to buy a building permit or talk to somebody about some project that you want to do, it's all going to be down there on the first floor. Next thing I wanted to make mention of, because people are going to be asking, right across the driveway or Island Avenue, between Island Avenue and Houston Street and River Rain, we have the just erected the boundaries for the construction of the new Flag Day monument that's going to be built right to the east of the Peg Bond Center and north of the parking lot that's there. And it's going to be quite an ingenious design, and I think people will come from far and wide to look at it, but it pays tribute to Dr. Bernard Sagrand, who in 1916 was part of a powerful voice of a handful of Americans who pushed for the idea of creating June 14th as Flag Day because of the value and the importance of the American flag. And during this early part of what was going to be World War I, President Woodrow Wilson proclaimed the first American Flag Day on June 14th, which was supposedly the date that the Constitutional Convention adopted the design of the American flag that we still have today. And so we're going to have that as another attraction in downtown Batavia for the thousands of people who walk our river walk every year and come down to see it or stop by to see it. We'll have yet a new attraction, and I think that's going to be very, very popular. I would like to make a note. I've had several different people call me and tell me, and I'm not want to get into a list of them, but of Batavians or old-time Batavians or people who moved away who are experiencing some type of a health distress. There's a number of people who have really bad congestion or bad colds or asthma acting up. And so I just want to caution everyone, if you're not feeling good, see your doctor or your medical facilities. We have some very nice ones around us here in the area. And so medical treatment should be available, but we do seemingly have a lot of sick people in our graces right at the moment. And I also wanted to make just a comment before I close here about people tell me they like it when I discuss history notes or history stories of Batavia. And so the one I guess I will close, and I may have talked about this one before, but this is a fairly unique story because it has a lot of national, if not international, connection. And that's the fact that between 1915 and 1918, the minister up at the United Methodist Church on Batavia Avenue, his name was Reverend Faye Arnold Moon. And Reverend Moon had a daughter by the name of Marion Moon, who went to school in Batavia, and she's pictured in the, I believe this is the 1916 or 17 Batavia High School yearbook. She's in the 8th grade class, and she's in the same class as a girl by the name of Beth Sagrand, who was the daughter of Bernard Sagrand at the time when this was all taking place with the Flag Day being proclaimed. And what's very interesting about Marion Moon and Beth Sagrand being in the same Batavia High School class was that half a century later, in July of 1969, as you may remember, the United States of America landed on the moon, and that was probably one of the most historic events to take place in the last century. And ironically, as you will recall, there were two astronauts that landed. One got off and made the statement about one small step for man, one giant step for mankind. And he was fouled off that was Armstrong, and then he was fouled off the capsule by Edwin Aldrin. Aldrin was this guy that had the American flag in his hands, and he went over and put the American flag on the moon. And within a few hours, Batavia was getting calls from all the national media wanting to know about the connection of astronaut Aldrin and Batavia. And come to find out, he was the daughter of Marion Moon and the son of Marion Moon, and his grandfather was Reverend Moon from the Methodist Church. I remember I got a call, I was working at the newspaper at the time, from NBC News in Chicago, and they wanted me to confirm for them that there was a minister in Batavia whose last name was Moon, and that his grandson had just landed on the moon. And I, at the time, didn't know anything about it, but I referred him over to Lydia Jean Staffney, who she quickly confirmed the whole story and told me later a number of stories about Marion Moon and her family and their connections with the Methodist Church and all this good stuff. So we do have a pretty interesting connection with the landing on the moon, because we had a situation where many years before Aldrin walked off the capsule and put the American flag on the moon, his mother was in the same Batavia High School class as the daughter of the gentleman who was part of those credited with forming American Flag Day. So that's a pretty unique Batavia connection to the American flag, and one that I think the community will brag about and be very pleased about for the years to come. So have a nice week, and I'll look forward to talking to you next week.